Let's talk about some butterfly bush varieties and some maintenance here in the Raleigh garden. Really isn't a whole lot of maintenance. It's once a year, really hardcore, big time maintenance, and then a little bit of ongoing maintenance if you want to during the growing season. This butterfly candy series, we planted all 5 of them along the vegetable garden. I've pointed out many times before that we have a lot of pollinator plants around our vegetable garden with intent, because the more pollinators we can draw in here, the more likely it is to have pollinators that want to be here all the time, and therefore our vegetables end up pollinated as well. And so the butterfly bushes are an important part of that. This is the butterfly candy series. There's a bumblebee here enjoying this little raspberry. So all the butterfly candy series are Lil something. So this one's Lil Raspberry. They're a dwarf series of butterfly bushes, although I will say Lil Raspberry is a little more vigorous than the other 4 varieties. But this, again, this is such a unique color. I don't know how well it really shows up online, but people who were here for the open garden were like, wow, you know, this is just a crazy, crazy color. Down below it, a more typical size for the rest of the series, that's Lil Grape, and Lil Grape is the darkest purple. We were a little cool back in May, and it really slowed the butterfly bushes down just a bit this year, but now you can see that thing is about to just be solid purple in a week or so. Can you go down to the bumblebees on the little taffy? Yeah, so a couple of bumblebees working hard over there on the little taffy. Little taffy is the pink variety. And we have a couple of these little raspberry here in the garden just because this one's so nice. The others are little coconut, which is the white here. Might be the most overall compact. Every single one of these branch ends is about to have white flowers on it. This one's about to be full, absolutely full of white flowers. There's another little taffy next to it with the pink flowers, and then to the left of that, that's a little lavender. You can see why. It's got that. It's a lighter purple than the little grape was on the other side. But all of these, you can see how compact the growing these 3 plants are. It's unbelievable how good. This would just be as a front border plant, and then, you know, little raspberries more of an upright, you know, 3 to 4 foot shrub. I think it's 2 to 3 feet on the tag on these, but definitely, again, 3 to 4 feet. And these, I mean, we've had these for 2 years, and this is all that's happened this year. You know, it's 2 feet tall and 3 feet wide. A little slower to come into absolute full flower. The pink has at this point. The other 2 are catching up real quick, but super compact, easy plants. One thing in the breeding of these, when we have, so butterfly bushes are invasive in some areas of the country, like in the Pacific Northwest, in Europe, but these complex hybrids, meaning that you took this butterfly bush and you crossed it with that butterfly bush, and then you back crossed it with another butterfly bush, so on and so forth, ends up creating extremely either sterile, we don't want to call them sterile though, but extremely low seed count to the point of I can't find a seed on them. That doesn't mean they're incapable of producing a seed, but they don't seem to have any seed on them. But that's what we've seen through these really complex hybrid butterfly bushes that are out on the market, that less and less seed overall. And I think they've been reapproved in some places. Some of them have at this point on these complex hybrids. These need full sun, and these are sitting in full sun all day long, and they have this extremely compact habit. Let me show you one that is not. I've been growing butterfly bushes for 30 plus years, grew lots of different varieties at my nursery. I think this one is Dubonnet. It's been here since before this project actually started. The only real maintenance you need to do in any ongoing way is you can deadhead them. This one's not in enough sun, so it's stretched, and it only has a few flowers at the time. So a little bit of pruning on one. If you've got it in a little bit too much shade and it's stretching, you can keep it there as long as you're getting some enjoyment out of it, but you probably want to kind of frequently deadhead it, prune it back a bit, encourage additional growth so it's not so stretched out like this. or, you know, you can dig it out of the ground and move it. I think transplanting would be when it's dormant would be the best time to do it. I'd probably even wait till like March before it starts leafing back out, cut it down to about 18 inches and then move it at that time would be the best time to do it. Deadheading, I just take the, this one does have viable seed on it. In fact, I can see, this is what I'm talking about when I see, you know, just because, you know, when these pollinators come along and pollinate these, it doesn't always mean that every one of these are going to make seed, but I can see a seed that's actually formed right there. Is that showing up, Steph, you think? Right between my nails right there. I think that's a seed. Doesn't mean that seed's going to germinate, but this is one that if you were in an area where these can come up, we just don't get any seedlings up from them. I had a Nanho Blue butterfly bush at my old house that I'd occasionally get a seedling or two at the base of it, but just really never overall seen a problem here in Raleigh. And they're not, of all the things out here in the woods and around the woods and in these neighborhoods that are invasive, never seen a butterfly bush being part of the problem here in our area. So we're just lucky that way we can use them without worrying about that. But that's it. I'll just go through here as quick as I can, cut these spent flowers off. And by doing that, any cutting I'm doing on it like that will encourage more growth from the bottom. And that growth from the bottom will give us more flowers. It's only like the 6th, 7th of July as I'm filming this. So this thing has the potential in our area to be blooming, you know, well into October. So by doing this now, I can just keep it growing, generating new growth. This is clean material. It doesn't have any disease issues. It doesn't have any spider mites. It doesn't have any insect problems. Doesn't have any issues. When I cut it off, I'll just throw it down here out of sight, out of mind, let it fertilize itself. If you're in an area where they could potentially be seedy, I wouldn't have done that. You know, I want to get, part of the deadheading I'm doing would be to remove that viable seed before it became an issue and you can dispose of it. I said all that about the seed not coming up here very often, but this is one that has. It came up between a brick and the concrete up at the top of our driveway here in what would seem like the worst possible place to come up 2 years ago. And so we've actually just let it grow to see what it would do. And look how full it is. This is a cross that would have been made here in this garden from a couple. I don't know if it's one of those dwarfs back there, plus, you know, some other one. I don't know that anybody would want this, you know, light blue color like this. The compact variety definitely fits. The butterflies are all over it all day long. And, you know, I don't see any seed on this one. So again, seems like the more time they're crossed, you know, the less viable seed ends up in these. But so anyway, I again said that I've hardly ever seen it at all, but we have one in this garden. Plant looks great. It's blooming like mad. If I see any other seedlings from this one, I'm definitely going to get rid of it pretty quick. But there you go. It is possible. This is the giant out in the front garden. This one predates this garden project. It may be 20 years old at this point. It's so woody down at the bottom. We cut this thing down to about 2 feet every winter. And, you know, as I'm standing here right now, it's 10 feet tall. Typically, we'll just take about 1/3 of this thing down in the middle of summer to prevent it from breaking open at some point, because any kind of serious wind or rain event could probably break this thing at this point. And it's easier to just cut it about 1/3 back than it is to deadhead it like I showed on the other ones. These things are extremely nectar rich, but I will say they are not a host plant for butterflies. So there's a big difference between a flower that a butterfly will come to, and of course, as I'm talking about butterflies, we're showing you bees. There's a big difference between a plant that a butterfly will go and get nectar from and a plant that a butterfly needs to survive, to lay its larva on and to eat. So we have butterfly weed and we have many other plants here in the garden, and we've done video content on host plants for butterflies. We have a native garden over there. Some of those, you know, some of those butterflies need very specific native plants to live their entire life process through, to form, you know, to have larvae and to have, you know, to form those chrysalis and then to breed in your garden beyond just needing flowers. So keep that in mind. in order to have both, in order to have that complete life cycle, it's good to know both. And we're going to be pointing that out as we develop that native garden over there. We're going to be pointing out, you know, individual plants in that garden that are host plants for very, you know, there's some of these, you know, you get these, some what pollinators are generalist, meaning they'll go to different flowers, they'll use different spaces to overwinter, they'll, you know, they can survive in a lot of general ways and on general things. And then there's plants that are very specific to very, you know, they have to have this one particular plant to live their life cycle. And we'll be pointing that out as we're developing the native garden. It's best to have these out in about 6 to 8 hours of sun or more. You know, they can take the whole 15 hours from the time the sun comes up in the morning until it sets in the evening here during the summertime without any problem. They don't like wet feet. Kind of moist, well-drained conditions, which I could say that about 90% of the plants in this garden would prefer. Some moisture available. You know, it's trying to produce nectar, it's trying to produce flowers. It's one of those summer plants that is going to need, it can't do this, you know, without some ongoing water. They root down pretty deep. If you're gonna move one, I would move it. I think the best time to do it will be February or March when it's completely dormant and after you've cut it back. And, you know, I think I've shown that in in videos in the past. But easy plants, again, some places you can't have them because they're, you know, they can get seedy. But again, we're at the point now where I think more and more you're going to see, you know, seed-free, seedless, or sterile cultivars coming into the market that, you know, will prevent those things from happening. In the meantime, those of us that plant them probably should just be planting them in areas where they don't become an issue. And then also concentrate on other plants. Here's, right next to this butterfly bush is a bronze fennel. So this bronze fennel is an example of a host plant for a caterpillar, okay? As opposed to, you know, a plant that produces food for the butterfly, right? They're right next to one another. And we've done that throughout this garden. I think that's an important thing to understand overall. But easy peasy, just giving you an update mainly on these butterfly candy butterfly bushes. They're widely available now. I see them in most stores that we go in. They're identified by the purple ones in the purple pot and the raspberry ones in the raspberry colored pot and the white ones in the white pot. Really interesting marketing that went into these, but they're also really quality plants overall as well. So thank you guys so much for watching.